Today we're going to be looking at a problem that involves proportional reasoning. And for today's lesson, we are going to solve for the unknown value in a proportion. What is a proportion? A proportion is a statement that two ratios are equal. So let's begin by looking at the question to see how we can set up a proportion. The D'Souza family is going on a trip to Prince Edward Island and back. It is 1,600 kilometers from home to PEI. Determine the total cost of the gas for the D'Souza family's trip to PEI and back. If the cost of gas is 128 cents per liter and the car uses 9.8 liters per 100 kilometers, show your work. So what is this question even asking us to find? The question says, determine the total cost of gas for the D'Souza family's trip. So we need to know, how much does the gas cost? Well, we know that gas is 128 cents per liter, or $1.28 for every liter, but do we know how many liters the car uses for this trip? We do know that the car uses 9.8 liters for every 100 kilometers. Do we know how many kilometers the D'Souza family travels? We know that they travel 1,600 kilometers one way. So where should we begin? Let's start by finding the liters of gas used by the car. Well, what is the relationship? Is there a relationship between how far the car travels and how many liters it uses? Yes, we can say that there's a relationship between liters and kilometers. So this is how we're going to set up our proportion. For every 9.8 liters, the car travels 100 kilometers. Well, if they're traveling 1,600 kilometers, can we figure out how many liters this is equal to? Why am I going to write 1,600 as the denominator? Well, if we look at the way we've set up this proportion, I've kept kilometers as the denominator and liters as a numerator. Remember, a proportion is a statement that shows that two ratios are equal. So let's put an equal sign here. Now, what is it that we need to figure out? Well, we need to find out how many liters of gas the car uses for 1,600 kilometers. So this is what's unknown. Let's call this X. Now, in today's lesson, I'm going to show you two methods of solving a proportion. The first method we're going to do is by finding the cross product. So we're going to cross multiply. I need to multiply 100 times X and 9.8 times 1,600. So this will be written as 100x is equal to 9.8 multiplied by 1,600. So let's simplify the right side. 100x equals 15,680. How do I solve for x? Well, in order to isolate x, I need to divide the left side by 100. Since 100 divided by 100 is 1, this reduces to 1x, or just x. Well, if I divided my left side of the equation by a 100, what do I need to do to the right side in order to keep the equation balanced? That's right, we also need to divide the right side by 100. So 15,680 divided by 100 is equal to 156.8. So we just found that the car uses 156.8 liters when it travels 1,600 kilometers. We've just found the amount of liters the car uses when traveling one way. But remember, the question told us that the D'Souza family travels to Prince Edward Island and back. Well, if the total amount of gas used is 156.8 liters one way, what do you think happens when they travel back? That's right, they use another 156.8 liters of gas. So altogether, how many liters of gas do they use for the total trip? 156.8 plus 156.8 will give us the total amount of liters used altogether. 313.6. Well, now that we know the total amount of liters used, how can we find the total cost of the gas? Now we need to find a relationship between the cost of gas and the amount per liter. So our proportion will represent cost in dollars and amount of gas in liters. Well, what do we know about the cost and the gas already? we know that it costs 1.28 or $1.28 for every 1 liter. Well, now that we know that the car uses 313.6 liters, can we find the total cost? Once again, we're going to put an equal sign here to show that these two ratios are equal. But this time, we need to solve for the cost of gas. So let's call this y, since this is unknown. Let's think about how these two ratios are related. Proportional statements are related by multiplication or division. So to get from 1 to 313.6, do you think we multiplied or divided? Well, since the number is larger, we must have multiplied. 1 times 313.6 gives us 313.6. If I multiplied the denominator by 313.6, what do you think I need to do to the numerator in order to keep the situation proportional? That's right, we need to also multiply this by 313.6. So let's calculate that. 1.28 times 313.6 is equal to 401.408. That means that y is equal to 401.408. But since y represented the cost, we should round our answer to the nearest penny. If I look at the number next to this, it's greater than 5. So what do I need to do to the number 0? Do you think it stays at 40 cents or should we round up to 41 cents? That's right, we're going to round up. So y is approximately equal to 401.41 or $401.41. Therefore, we just found the total cost of gas for the trip, which is what the question was asking us to figure out. We've just solved this problem using the constant of proportionality. Do you think this is the only way we could have solved this problem? Definitely not. There are many ways to solve the same problem in math, so check out our playlist to see different strategies of solving this question.